This is Beyond the Lamplight, Why I Walked Through Rome After Caesar's Assassination. So, why I walked through Rome after Caesar's assassination? Well, I walked through because everyone remembers the moment Caesar was killed. The knives, the betrayal, the theater of violence frozen in marble and oil paint. But that isn't where this walk begins. This walk exists because the most important part of power isn't how it falls, it's what happens when it's suddenly gone. So, why this walk exists? Well, assassinations are loud, but the aftermaths are not. When Caesar died, Rome didn't immediately erupt into chaos. There was no instant replacement and no clear authority stepping forward to really take the reins. Instead, there was a pause, a vacuum. Orders stopped moving, certainty evaporated. Everyone waited to see who would speak first and what would happen if they did. This walk exists to explore that pause, the moment when power disappears before it reorganizes, when the future is unwritten and no one knows whose voice will matter next. So, what I'm listening for in history. In Rome after Caesar, the most telling sounds are the ones that aren't there. No commands echoing through the forum, no public certainty, no single voice setting the direction. What remains are, footsteps, measured, cautious, moving through marble halls that suddenly feel too large, courtyards where conversations stop when someone enters, corridors that carry whispers instead of orders. I'm listening for hesitation, for authority withdrawing before it announces its replacement. History often announces itself with speeches. The moment, this moment, announced itself with silence. How I choose moments. Most retellings rush toward the next act. Civil War, Antony's speeches, the rise of Augustus. You see, I deliberately stop before all of that. I remove crowds, I remove rhetoric, I remove the noise of history performing for an audience. Instead, I chose spaces, empty halls, shadowed courtyards, doorways half open, half closed. These are the places where people decide who they're going to be when no one is watching, where responsibility, it doesn't come from rank, but from choice. By stripping away spectacle, the walk focuses on the moment when Rome had to sit with that uncertainty, what most people miss. You see, Rome didn't fall the night Caesar died. What fell was certainty. The Republic had already been hollowed out long before the assassination. Caesar's death didn't end something stable, it exposed how fragile things already were. This is where Stoicism enters the frame. Stoic philosophy, it doesn't emerge from a place of peace or abundance. It emerges from instability, from moments when external control disappears and the only remaining question is, how will I conduct myself now? That question, see, it doesn't need a crowd. It needs silence. So, why silence matters? Silence is where responsibility reveals itself. When there are no orders, no speeches, no banners to follow, people are forced inward. They decide what they value, what they fear, and what they're willing to endure. Philosophy requires space. Noise tells you what to think, but silence asks who you are. That's why this walk doesn't rush forward. It lingers in the aftermath where power hasn't yet found its next shape and where individuals must decide how to stand without instruction. Rome after Caesar wasn't dramatic, it was watchful, measured, uncertain. And in that uncertainty, a way of thinking took root that still speaks to us now. Not about controlling the world, but about controlling ourselves when the world stops making sense. And that is why this walk exists. Sometimes history doesn't shout its lessons. Sometimes it waits quietly just to see who's listening.